Good morning, all of you. We'll continue with the terrestrial magnetism. We have left out topics in that one is the null points and the apparent dip. Apparent dip I'll cover in the end. It's a one separate topic is there. So we'll finish off first the null points. Then I'll enter into the magnetic materials. That one, dia, ferra, pero, and the hysteresis loop. That one. Time left over, we'll go for the apparent dip. These are the magnetism chapter. After this, we are having this one like the optical instruments, telescope, microscope, compound microscope, all that one. Then the defects of human eye. So this week, this much of syllabus is what available for us. I'll start with this neutral points. Yesterday's class, what happened? We had a discussion about like Earth's magnetic field and what is the average magnitude, what is the order of magnetic field on the surface of the Earth? It is 1 Gauss or 10 to the power of minus 4 Tesla. Then can I use this magnetic field of the Earth to find out the dipole moment of a bar magnet? Because that is something very, very important for us. So if you look at the dipole moment, this is of bar magnet. So how to find out the magnetic dipole moment of a given bar magnet? Can we take help of the Earth's magnetic field? The answer is yes here. So let's assume that the bar magnet, it is placed in a there's a north pole, there's a south pole. How do it will produce field? It will produce lines of force. I think by this time everyone is having idea. So this will be the there's a rough diagram. This will be the lines of force. Inside the bar magnet, we need not to show it. Inside the bar magnet, you need not to show it. So there's a south pole, north pole. So this much is there. Now, you superimpose on this the Earth's magnetic field. But Earth's magnetic field will not be everywhere, will not be tangential to surface of the, where it will be tangential to surface of the Earth at magnetic equator. So let's talk about only the horizontal component of the Earth's magnetic field. Horizontal component means if I take like this, so at a point, it will have two things. So let's say B bar like this. B vertical like this, B horizontal. Or at some other point, it may like this, no? It may be in this direction. But altogether, what will happen? The BH is what I'll consider. Now, where happen? I'll just place the bar magnet here. I think I'll take it to this. So here I place the bar magnet. Will I agree? No. This what happens here. No. Now BH, how it will be towards left, and the lines of force due to bar magnet, it will be like this. I'll show only few. Now how BH and B will be at any point if you want. Okay, at this particular point you look at this one. So how B bar due to bar magnet will be towards right, and BH will be towards left. Look at this point. This point is very important. The B bar due to bar magnet in the plane of bar magnet, where the bar magnet is lying in that plane, there is some point where the B bar due to bar magnet will be towards right. Hers horizontal component will be towards left. So shall I take care of this Earth's horizontal component rather than total B bar? This will be much easier. So now when I place such a bar magnet in Earth's magnetic field, the resultant field surrounding a bar magnet will be like this. And there are 2 points. This is the null point. and this is also a null point. These are the two null points which I obtained. Okay, that cross mark I'm putting, there's a null point. What do you mean null point? The net field will be 0. But sir, like what about vertical component? Okay, let it be, I'm not bothered. I'm interested only to get that BH. Null in the sense, what happened? The horizontal, the resultant of B bar due to bar magnet and horizontal component, what happened? Will be nullified here. The vertical component, let it be there. So here, due to vertical component of mag field will be into the plane. That we are not showing that one. So BH, do I know BHS by using vibration magnetometer? So with that, what happened? I'm able to predict the M bar of a bar magnet. So now if I show this is for what? This one. So Earth's magnetic field, I'll put a, so the superposition of that is what? I think so what are this green color? The green color arrows is BH. The red colors are the lines of force. Earth's magnetic field, I think I'll erase this part. I think it'll confuse you. Okay, that one. I think I'll no. So this shall we call like this? This is the geomagnetic. I'll give a name. So what is this? This end is geomagnetic south. For the Earth, what will happen? The lines of force will be from where? From the South Pole towards the geographic north. No, I think somewhere in the. I'll give one more diagram. Geographic north, geomagnetic south. Okay, I think correct. Geographic north or geomagnetic north here. So geomagnetic south. I think okay, fine. I think yes. I'll just write here geomagnetic. Okay, I agree this. I think geographic south or geomagnetic south. How the lines of force on the surface of the earth will be from the south pole towards the north pole, that one. Or still if you are having confusion, so if you take this, the earth. This is a bar magnet. This is a geographic south, geographic north. How the lines of force? The lines of force will come like this, no? Now what are green color lines? I'll show on one side. No problem. Well, please do remember this diagram. This is something very important here. Okay, now how the lines of force, it should be outside from north to south. Inside will be south to north. So what is this? This will become geomagnetic. Though north pole is there. Is it okay? Geomagnetic south and this is geomagnetic. This is geographic north. Okay, that green color lines is what? BH. So again, once again, what we should call this will be geographic south. GS, this will be GN. So how you have to place? You have to place an external a bar magnet such that its north pole should be towards the geographic north and south pole should be towards geographic south. Then we'll get a point where the resultant field will be 0. This is a null point. Like that, we'll get a null point here. What happens at null point? Okay, then we'll take the one more. This is I'll draw a line. Just all these are diagram based. If you have clarity of the diagram, you can manage. Okay, now shall I call this is X here? Black line is the resultant field. The resultant. This is the resultant field. This is the Earth's magnetic Earth's horizontal component. Okay, fine. What about red color? Red color is the field lines of bar magnet. I think I made all things clear. Huh? So at this particular point, what is the magnetic field due to bar magnet will be in this direction. Call 1. This is 2. B1, B2. Hertz. So what is the field strength at 0.192? Net field will be 0. Okay, due to bar magnet, we'll write it. What is the field strength? Net resultant field strength at 0.1 will be 0. Okay, B1 0 means how it is 0? BH minus is 0. So what is BH? BH is known. What is B bar? So look at that 0.1. Shall I say it lies on the equatorial plane? So mu naught M B bar 4 pi x cube. I'll measure the distance. So how do you come to know the field is 0? I'll take another compass needle, very tiny compass needle. If it shows 0 deflection, then definitely open there the resultant field is 0. So what is like a test charge? How we say test charge in electrostatic test charge, in gravitation test mass. Similarly in magnetism, what happened? The compass needle will become like a test magnet in that one, which will not produce its own field. A very tiny compass needle, very small. I think in watches nowadays you might have seen, no? Gyroscope they call that one to show the direction. No? Like that, a very small compass needle. That is nothing but will become like a test magnet. If it shows 0 deflection, I think it'll be there. Simple one arrow will be there. So if it just gets aligned along that vertical line and south, so the resultant field what should be, it will not show any deflection. Then what you can say that definitely it should be 0, that one. Like this, a small tiny magnet I'll take help of. So I think now we have equation. So what is the dipole moment of given bar magnet? 4 pi BH x cube by mu naught. I can measure exactly x. I know h, how to find out BH by using vibration magnetometer at that given point, and it will be uniform. So suppose say you are doing in a DD Colony lab, physics in physics lab in DD Colony, almost the total Hyderabad, you can almost say the BH will be same. Don't think that as you come outside the lab, BH will be different. Almost at Hyderabad, what when the value of BH in a region of almost around, you can say 50 to 100 kilometers, the value of BH will be same at a given point. Because Earth's surface is something, radius is 6,000 kilometers. Look at the surface area of Earth. 4 pi into, you go for 6,400 kilometers. So in a region of even up to 50 to 100 kilometers, the value of BH will be same. Okay, like this, I am able to find out the dipole moment of bar magnet. So what is the condition now? How the bar magnet should be kept? The north pole of the bar magnet is aligned in the direction along the geographic north. This is something very important. So what is the strict condition? The north pole bar magnet is aligned along the geographic north. Okay, these are the diagrams. Very important. Just it's some condition you have to assume. Okay, these are the some ways they may test you like this also. You have to be careful. Huh?
Sir,
What is this dotted line? This dotted line is surface of the earth. Yeah.
sir, in that figure, the lines closer to the magnet should be from north to south, no, sir?
Which diagram? This one? Huh?
In that printed figure.
This one? Huh?
Yes, sir. Because closer to the magnet, BH will be less than B.
No, there's a resultant field. Huh? There's a resultant field.
If X is very less, then B bar will be greater than BH.
See, as x decreases, BH will be magnetic field strength will be, but not something very much. Huh? No, don't think in that way. Here will be zero. This will dominate. So the resultant field, okay, the arrows like this you want to show it. Huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think some problem with the. Oh, okay, this one. Arrow should change direction. Yeah, in fact, yeah. I'll do one thing. I'll make changes here. Okay. These arrows must be like this. Huh? Somewhere it becomes zero. Then after that null point, it should be upward. Okay, no, I think everything. This will be yeah. So here it should be towards it. So null point it will be zero. Okay, some small correction is there. Just make it. I think the here. Yeah, fine. Just notice that the arrows, what happened, the resultant field here should be in this direction. Should be in this direction. Here 0. Here the resultant field will be in this direction. That formula you have to remember. Huh? So like this, we can find out the dipole moment of bar magnet. Okay, let's come for the next one. Now you see that one. The south pole of bar magnet is along the geographic north. So here I think we'll indicate the name. So this will be geomagnetic north. And geographic north, no? Geographic north, what happened? We'll get a geomagnetic north only. Okay, I think some name problem here. I'll erase that. Huh? We'll write our own things. Take like this. Okay, now there's a geographic north is spelling N and S. So the upper part is so this is the geographic north. We do these things in lab. Huh? We do these things in lab. There's the one best, easiest method to find out the dipole moment of bar magnet than even vibration magnetometer method. There's a geographic north. So this part is geographic south here. The south pole of the bar magnet is pointing towards the geographic north. So therefore, or what else you can put it? This is the geomagnetic. So though this is not with respect to bar magnet, Hertz bar magnet, geomagnetic north. Geomagnetic south here. The null points, what happened, the resultant field, the null points, what happened, will be obtained here. So look at the lines of force. So I don't think so. Here arrows are fine, everything. So the resultant field somewhere here, the null points where on the axis will get it. Earlier the null points open, we obtained where on the equatorial line. Now the null point will be there on the axis here. So these are the null points. They may test you with a diagram based, just be careful. So this will be the null points here. So take 0.192, 2 points will be there. So let this distance be y. Then the dipole moment of bar magnet, m bar like this. So the resultant field, so BH it points 1 or 2, anything you can pick up. BH minus magnetic field due to bar magnet should be equal to 0. BH is as it is. Due to bar magnet, mu naught m bar by 4 pi y cube. 2 will not be there. Will I agree? So sorry, 2 should be there. It's there on the axis, no? So therefore the mb bar like this we can determine. It's very easy. So what I do is I'll keep bar magnet like this. So it's a like this. Then I'll move the compass needle, very tiny compass needle, where it shows 0 deflection. Where it shows 0 deflection, then there is a null point. So it points 192, null points. It's there in the lab also, so possibility of asking some good questions on this. So what we have is resultant field. This is what is the basic structure? There's a bar magnet, south north. Now we'll show the lines of force. The lines of force will be like this. Then you show the Hertz horizontal component. The green color is what? Earth's horizontal field. Okay, fine. So these are the null points. The null points will come at this particular thing. So here you just show like this. This will be BH, and this will be due to bar magnet. Similarly, we'll get one null point here also. Here it will be B bar, and this will be BH. This is a point 2. Okay, fine. So these are some ways in which you must able to cope up things here. So they may test you with the direction of resultant field. In SRM also some diagrams are given. Just do notice that. That will be very important. I'll come for magnetic materials. One apparent dip is there. I'll because again it takes some almost 1 hour. So let me first finish off the magnetic materials so that you can work out all other numericals. Tomorrow I'll do that apparent dip, or if time permits, today only we'll go for it. There's only pure theoretical, very small numericals will be there. Magnetic materials. So after this, what happened? Now I'm interested to construct that magnetic materials. Why we need magnetic materials? Now the basic idea, the question comes like, why we are going for magnetic materials? So I want to construct a bar magnet. What I should use? Shall I use wood, glass, iron, copper, aluminum? Definitely no. So what that magnet is made up of? There are two types of magnets: artificial magnet, then natural magnets. Natural magnets are not powerful. They don't have much magnetism. Magnetite ore, if you take magnine, if you take that one, they're what happened? They're not that much of powerful. So if you go for application, we need a magnet which will produce a very strong field. So from how to make an artificial magnets, very next question comes, what material I should use? Which material will support us? So therefore now we are going to study the materials which will help us to produce or to manufacture a powerful artificial magnets here. Then again, I'll go for further applications. So in different applications, we use this magnetic field. Magnetic field based applications are there. So what type of materials I should use for different types of applications where magnetic field is involved. So until unless if I don't study the magnetic materials, I don't think so I can use this effectively magnetic materials in application. And it's very important. You can see that now what all I'm writing digital writing pad now, it is just based on this magnetism, nothing to do, magnetic materials. It has deeply penetrated into our life, this magnetic materials. Of course, we don't notice. Even the television, what we have, the mobile, what we have. Then next again, CD, optical disc, CDs. So now we are going for optical. Just go back to some 10 years back. Floppy disk we used to have. So all the data, I think I just, what all I had a digital, no, I used to store in floppy disk. And you know what is a one floppy disk? It was around 10 MB, the data. That was a big thing for us to store. Then slowly some floppy disks came with 100 MB. That was upper limit. And one floppy disk cost was 40 rupees of 10 MB. 100 MB, it was around 120 rupees. Like this, we have to store all our data in the floppy disk. And the Intel 386, I think the third generation computer is what we used to use. And the Windows just now entered. Earlier we used to go for DOS and other things, operating system. So there what happened, how the information used to be stored by using this magnetism only. Or you go back to the movies. Even nowadays also the movies, what will happen, the reel, what we call, no, there'll be 2 discs. In that you can see the brown strip, no. So how do that information stored? In the form of magnetism only. Or gramophone, magnetism. Almost you can say like around for 80 years, this magnetic materials ruled everything, the movies, everything, all the information. Means I should come to this magnetism property only. Means what all I speak, I'll convert that into electrical signal. Using electrical signal, I'll convert electrical signal into magnetic signal. And that magnetic signal will be stored in a, that magnetic signal will be stored in a, that magnetic signal what will be stored on a surface here. And what is that surface? All is what we are going to give priority to that one. Even now it's very important. And the applications are very wide. Just will focus on some few small data-based or the information-based things. Will not go in depth about the, because again, if you go for in depth, you have to enter into quantum nature. There's no other way. So once after quantum mechanics came, we are able to understand the magnetism still more in depth here. Prior to that, we were just only using that. So prior to that, so here our entire discussion, the magnet is what I started here. So let's go back to solenoid. Can you remember solenoid? So go back solenoid. So this will be to explain all this. I'll take help of solenoid. Let I be the current. Then it will produce a B bar. That B bar will be in this direction. B naught. And let N be the number of turns on it. So what is the expression for magnetic field? B equal to mu naught Ni. What is N? What is N? Number of turns per unit length. Let L be the length. Let N be the number of turns. So this B naught, okay, no? No, as I vary current I, the B naught will vary, definitely. The B naught vary. So first I'll define. So what is that B naught I should call? So magnetic field intensity or a magnetizing field. Any name shall we give for it? Yes, the B naught autopine is called as a magnetizing field. The first definition I'm bringing. We don't have very good suitable information on this, the definitions what I'm putting. Just carefully understand, nothing, no much thing, just only to understand. And the solenoid always keep in mind. To study this magnetic material, you are going to take help of solenoid. In the books without solenoid, they explain. That's why you find very difficult. They are just focusing on quantum nature. Since we don't know quantum mechanics, we just take an example what we know it. We know solenoid. Yes. So by varying current, I can produce this magnetizing field. I'll call magnetizing field. So now, what is this space here? This is the free space. Even I take this solenoid, I'll go to the space. Free space means no medium. That one. Will this field, can it exist? Yes, if there's a current I flows, the field will exist. So what is this magnetizing field here? It's a field which can exist in a free space also. This is one basic parameter. And it will induce magnetism in other substance. So what is the magnetizing field? The symbol for this is what? B naught. It's a field that can exist in free space and magnetize the other substance when placed in this field. It can induce magnetize here, or you can put it like it can induce magnetize, or you can magnetize that one. Magnetize other substance when placed in magnetize other substance. So what is the meaning of this? Or it will induce magnetism, or it's a field that induces magnetism in other substance. There's the external field, you can call that one. Okay, after this, magnetizing. So there's a magnetic, what do you mean by this one? Magnetic induction. You go back to electrostatics. Go back to electrostatics. So there's a capacitor plates. Just correlate things, little bit easy for you. What is this? There's a E naught, no? Now I'll bring a dielectric slab. Let me bring a dielectric slab. There's a dielectric. So there are two fields are there, no? The E naught will be as it is. And this E naught, what it will do? It will induce magnetic field. It will induce charge. So because of that, EI will come. So what is that E naught? Whether you keep slab or if whether slab is there or not, that E naught will exist, no? Look at the first diagram. If you remove slab, E naught will vanish, nothing to do. And what is EI? Induce electric field. Similarly, what will happen? So when I bring any magnetic substance, if I bring any magnetic substance, and I'll pass a current I. This current I flowing here will produce magnetic field in this direction, B naught. Okay, fine. And it will induce magnetic field. So it can induce magnetic field in any direction. So let me put it Bi like this. And what is this rod? It's a magnetic substance. So what is that Bi? Bi is called as induced magnetic field. Will induced magnetic field. So the symbol will be Bi, or if you want to write it as, yeah, okay, some. Let me take this one only. In the books, they brought BM, induced magnetic field, B naught, that one. So I'll carry on the book convention. BM, what is BM? Induced magnetic field, that one. So who will induce that magnetic field? This magnetizing field. So I'll come to later on. How to measure that induced magnetic field is what? Who will induce that magnetic field? This current, no? Now, by varying current, tell me what will happen. Say B naught is some sort of entity. Can I control how much B naught can I control? How to control how much of B naught? By varying N or I. So I do have control on B naught also. So for to express that, the control on magnetic field B naught, no, I'll bring another quantity, magnetic field intensity. Or there's a magnetizing field intensity or magnetic intensity. Magnetizing, or this is also called as magnetizing field intensity. The symbol is H. What is H? H is equal to N into I. How to define this? How to define this one? The ability of magnetizing field to magnetize a material medium. Or nothing but it's a measure of how much that magnetizing field which can exist in space and which can magnetize other substance. How much magnetizing field that we are expressing by H. I think it's quite clear. So what is now B naught you can write. What is the relationship? B naught equal to mu naught into H, that one. The relations between B naught and H. And if you look at all the higher electrodynamics books, they don't go for B naught. The H is what matters here. All the applications what we discuss H only, not B naught. These are the two terms related to magnetizing field only. Okay, let's come for the substance will get magnetized, no? How to express that magnetization? Means like, let's come for this one. How much the field is induced? Now, if I put wood, there won't be induced electric field. There won't be induced charge. So then this will also get electric dipole moment. We'll agree this. So inside that, the you can say atom will get polarized and will get induced charge. And because of that, this particular slab will have net dipole moment. So now how much it got induced. So all that particular thing, and what is EI. So that everything is what happened. Now I'll go into the material. Okay, now I got what is the electric field E naught on that one, and what it does, and how to control E naught by varying Q naught. and by varying area of cross section. Similarly, how to control B naught? By varying number of turns per unit length and current. Okay, let's get into magnetizing field. This magnetizing field, how much a substance got magnetized, I should measure, no? I should have a quantity to express that how much a substance got magnetized. So for that purpose, how that Bm is related. So Bm is given by, I think I'll go for next page. Or let's write here only. The next one is intensity of magnetization. This is called as capital I. Small I for current, capital I we use for this particular quantity. So it is like a defined as magnetic moment developed per unit volume of a material when placed in a magnetizing field. Is called as intensity of magnetization. This is. So then what is the dipole moment? Now what is this particular material made up of? Total magnetic moment. This intensity of magnetization, magnetic moment per unit volume. What is this magnetic moment should be equal to? From where this magnetic moment I should measure. So what is the magnetic moment? The individual atom, what happen will behave like a magnet. Then the number of atoms into dipole momentum of each magnet will become the magnetic moment here. So this particular thing, N into okay, let me keep time being it. So magnetic moment, so what we can write as like a Qm into 12, like it's similar to bar magnet, you can go for it. And volume will be A into 12. So this will become magnet. What is this? I introduced some terms like this. Can you remember this pole strength? M naught, again you'll get confused. So there's a pole strength, I'm bringing that one. North pole. And there's a north pole. South pole. Let length be 12. And the side length, let it be A, that one. So what is the question that is being asked? So per unit volume, no? Thickness is also, yeah, fine. So what is a dipole moment? So can we define dipole moment like this? Pole strength into magnetic length. Then into, this is the area of cross section. No? This one. So now area of cross section into that length. What it will be? It will become volume. So that 2L get cancelled. So the pole strength per unit cross section is what we can define intensity of magnetization. Now, what is that induced magnetic field? I'll bring into the picture. The induced magnetic field Bm. Can you remember? I think Bm, induced magnetic field. Now I can relate with this one. So because now the substance got magnetized, so we can write it as mu naught into intensity of magnetization. The induced magnetic field, I'll do express like this. So what is induced magnetic field is equal to Bm equal mu naught into Im. So some books they given symbol capital I, you may get confused with the current. Intensity of magnetization. I think in SCRMA you follow this symbol. Let me carry on with this one. So the induced magnetic field, how to measure that one? Mu naught times of particular the intensity of magnet. How to calculate intensity of magnet? Total dipole moment of the dipole moment of the substance per unit volume. So what is the dipole moment? We just put like a bar magnet. Let's say that in the iron rod, it gets magnetized. Then I'll measure the pole strength into magnetic length. Will give the dipole moment, total dipole moment of bar magnet per unit volume. So it's nothing but pole strength per unit area. We can also define this as pole strength per unit area. Like this, what happened? We're able to express that induced magnetic field. Now, in a substance, what is the total magnetic field now? The total magnetic field now we can define it as, okay, I'll bring this diagram. What is the resultant magnetic field? The total magnetic field, the net magnetic field, B is equal to B naught plus Bm. What is B naught? B naught is given by mu naught H. What is induced magnetic field? Is given by mu naught into I. What is this Bm? Induced magnetic field. B naught is magnetism, and this is B is a net magnetic field. So this will become mu naught H plus I. Okay, this, what you should call this one? Net field, net magnetic field in a material. This one. So what is this? This is a material. So I go back to see. Don't get confused here. What is the net field? We write E naught minus E I, know. So then why don't you write B naught plus Bm? If Bm opposite to B naught, I'll write B naught minus Bm. If Bm is induced magnetic field in the direction of external field, I'll write B naught plus Bm. So it can be plus or minus. It all depends on material. I just picked up a material where the induced magnetic field will be in the direction of external field. Okay, agree this? Let's not bother ourselves much here. It can be plus or minus, no doubt. Okay, now after this, so I got now something different. So next I'll go for magnetic permeability. Fifth one. What is the magnetic permeability? The name itself, it says permeability, permits how much material will permit to get magnetized. It's a measure of the ability of substance to get magnetized. Is it okay? The ability of substance, it's a measure of the ability of substance to get magnetized here. So, or permits how much of magnetism it will permit inside that material. How much of magnetism the material will permit. There is nothing but called as a magnetic permeability. So the definition says like it is the measure of the extent. Different books, they're given different way of explanation. You can follow very generalized one. I'm just putting in a very simplified way. I think even if you take S.C. Verma, he directly went there. For 2 or 3 parameters he defined, he went it. So even in NCERT book, we don't have any description much here. It is a measure of the extent to which a material can be penetrated or permeated by a magnetic field, by a external or magnetizing field, will write by a magnetizing field here. So this is defined as mu, symbol is mu, which is equal to B by H, that one. Or B is equal to mu into H, this is. Next, similarly, relative permeability. Relative permeability. So where is that magnetic permeability? Can you go back to the electrostatics? Absolute like a permittivity of a medium. Then we had absolute permittivity. Then we have relative permittivity. Similarly, what happened? We'll get here relative permeability. What is another thing? It is a measure of the extent to which a material can be penetrated or permitted by magnetic field, or it's a measure of, or it's a measure of ability of a substance to get magnetized. BM can be right or left. I'm telling this one, BM can be left or right. It all depends on material. There are only two possibilities, are BM opposite to B naught or BM in the direction of B naught. Finish, or no much further discussion. BM is not due to relative permeability, mu r. First, what is the permeability? Permeability is like it's a ability, or I'll put one more simplified. It's a measure of ability of a substance to get magnetized. Means, say, very first question. The substance which I'm going to put in a solenoid, will it get magnetized or not? I should know, no? Will it get magnetized, or how much it will get magnetized? All that, what happen, everything what happen will determine the permeability. And what is relative permeability? I can compare, say, iron, it will get more magnetized. Next, copper, it will get less magnetized. Able to get this one? To compare the magnetization of different materials, I need one more quantity that I'm bringing mu r. To it is measure of degree of magnetization between various material. Compared to iron, what about copper? So then whom I should take reference? It's a measure of degree of magnetization between various materials. Who is a reference? The free space is a reference. So for that purpose, the mu what happen is written as mu naught into mu r. I think you got exact picture now. Compare the iron is having mu r, say like some 6 lakhs, 6 lakhs 24,000. If you take some aluminum, no, it is having only around some 20. So substitute mu r for iron, how much? 6,000, 6 lakh 24,000. For what happen aluminum, let it be 20. Mu naught is some sort of fixed standard. Now, which is having more permeability? Yes, no, the iron. So what is this one? Relative permeability. It will help us to compare the degree of magnetization between various materials. Now let's come back. I told you there are some materials where the induced magnetic field will be opposite to B naught. There are some materials where the induced magnetic field will be in the direction of B naught. So to indicate that sign of BM also, we need one quantity. For that purpose, I'll bring the last one called as susceptibility. It is called as the symbol chi. This is. Now, so what to write here? Again, it's a measure of the ability of substance to take up the magnetization. Nothing but same thing. It's similar to that one only, but it will tell us the very clearly in what action the BM is, like, you know. So it's a measure of It's a measure of nature of magnetization in a material. So this susceptibility, I'll define it as intensity of magnetization by magnetizing field intensity. So in books, they're given dietary definition is defined as ratio of intensity of magnetization to magnetizing field intensity. Of course, you can memorize definition, but what is the meaning of that? It's a measure of nature of magnetization. Nature means Bm in the direction of B naught or Bm in the direction of B naught. So that is what reflected by chi. I think now we are in a better position. No? So first, I think I'll just summarize one so that it'll be easy for you to the coming concept. What is this? There's a field produced by solenoid and it can exist in free space, no? Magnetizing field, which will induce magnetism in other substance. Then how much this magnetizing field, how much magnetizing field intensity, you see, B naught is a field, how much B naught is what H. I think it's a quite very simplified way is what things are being put. Intensity, intense means how much, how intense magnetizing field. Finish your magnetic field intensity they call, but you do remember this one, magnetizing field intensity. B naught is magnetizing field. How much magnetizing field is what H. Induced magnetic field Bm, because in the material some magnetism will be induced, that is Bm. Next again, how much the substance got magnetized. So what is this? Magnet developed per unit volume of material when placed in magnetic field. In other ways, what you can define intensity of magnetization, how much, it's a measure of how much a substance got magnetized when placed in a material, when placed in a magnetic medium. I'll write it here. So intensity of magnetization, one more definition. It's a measure of I think it's quite clear now how much the substance got magnetized. That measure is nothing but the intensity of and how do we measure magnetic dipole moment per unit volume? Levitt. Come for this one. Then next again, it's a different materials, how much they get magnetized, they can get magnetized. I should know that one. That is what mu. Then again, to compare the magnetization of different materials, furthermore, I'm going, that is mu r. Then next, susceptibility. The induced magnetic field can be in the direction of B naught or opposite to B naught. To express that, I'm bringing susceptibility, nature of magnetization. So like this, all these things are related. Okay, let's get into the basic thing. We have started like this, no? B is equal to B naught plus Bi, induced magnetic field, or Bm. B naught is what? Mu naught H. And what is Bm? Bm is mu naught I. H plus I. Then what is I is equal to chi into H, susceptibility into H. So further this, H you take outside, 1 plus chi. What is this? There's a net field, no? This net field is due to what? Because of material medium. So this will become mu H is equal to mu naught H, 1 plus chi. What is mu? Mu naught mu R. H will get eliminated. So what is mu R? 1 plus chi. There's a relation between the relative permeability and the susceptibility. I think there's a very fundamental thing. This is what you have to remember. Nothing big. Okay, no, I think now we have enough of definition. So we'll get into the the material. The first one is what? I'll introduce the classification of magnetic materials. Now, good numericals they can ask you just based on these definitions also. Just only that formulas, if you remember, it's okay. Now, first is the diamagnetism. What is a diamagnetism? Means again, there are three materials are there. I will take a rod, diamagnetic rod. There's a wire, solenoid. I'll pass a current I. Due to this current I, the B naught will be there in this direction. The induced magnetic field will come in this direction. How that induced magnetic field? I think we wrote BM, no? Will be opposite to the external magnetic field. What is B naught? B naught is external field. Once again, I'm putting, and this is the induced magnetic field in the material. Where it is, this BM in the material, induced magnetic field. In the material. Who will induce this magnetic field? That B naught only again. and this is a diamagnetic rod. Why do it will happen? Why it will produce BM opposite to B naught? So what all that particular, so like the particular diamagnetic means in this sense, before passing current I, diamagnetic rod, will it have any magnetism of its own? No, nothing that one. The moment you pass a current I, the B naught will come into existence, and that B naught what one will induce a magnetic field, and that BM will be towards left here. What makes that BM to come into existence when you pass a current I is what we have to give explanation. This happens due to, this induced magnetic field is due to change in the dipole momentum of revolving electrons. So the diamagnetism is purely due to the revolving electrons here. So earlier, the electrons, they were revolving in a circular orbit. Initially, this was the electron that was revolving in a circular orbit. So let the velocity of this be v. This be like this here. So they're moving. So net, and this was having angular velocity. Any dipole momentum of this? Due to revolving electron, will there be any dipole moment? Yes, there'll be dipole moment. No? So how the current will flow? The current will flow in this direction. And what about the current? Current will flow in this direction. So what is the dipole momentum of this? This will be downward. And of this, it will be upward. What is the net dipole? Will be zero. This what happens due to revolving electron. The net dipole momentum of this diamagnetic material is zero. When I introduce a magnetic field, the magnetic field, what it will do is, external magnetic field, I'll bring it. The velocity of one of the bar magnet will slightly decrease. Sir, how you are bringing magnetic field? Next question. The external magnetic field will be we took black arrow. Yeah. This is what external magnetic field. Is it okay? That B naught I'm showing. Velocity of one of the revolving electron will increase. Of the other, it will increase here. So what will happen to this? The dipole momentum of this will increase by delta m times. The dipole momentum of this will decrease by delta m times. The net resultant dipole moment. Earlier, what was m net was 0. Now, what is the resultant dipole moment? Is upward. M plus, if you look at the difference of this, the resultant dipole moment will come upward. And because of that, what happened? We'll get a net induced magnetic field that will be directed upward here. Now, the moment I remove this magnetic field, what will happen? Again, the electrons will come to this position. What is the net dipole moment? Will be 0. So what is m net? 0. What about m net now? Equal to 2 delta m. Why do the speed of electrons will change? Due to magnetic field. It's nothing to do with our level. Means using classical physics, we say like, sir, how it is possible? Am I right? You go back to magnetism. You change magnetic field. So go back this one. Just try to think. Nothing problem. Charge of electron will change. No. Mass of electron will change. No. Nothing. That one. As you vary the magnetic field here, as you bring that magnetic field, so the R will not be disturbed. Practically, if R is disturbed, then what will happen? The atomic structure will be disturbed. No, but I know the magnetic substance. When I introduce in a magnetic field, what will happen? The radius of the revolving electron will not change. The mass of electron will not change. The charge will not change. Due to that external field brought, the speed of electron will change. The classical magnetism or the classical physics, what we know, is a question mark. Quantum mechanics, yes, it's able to explain. For instance, say our every topic in second year, what will happen? The moment you enter into second year topics, what happen? Every topic we should end up somewhere with a question mark. Then only what happen? We are studying in a right way. If you don't end up with question mark, not possible. So what we know, motion of charge particle magnetic field, I think we cannot explain. So based on quantum mechanics, yes, there is suitable reason is there. So let's have small idea this much only. Let's not bother. Why speed changes? So classical physics cannot explain it. So this is what happens in the revolver. So now there's a net magnetic field is produced, induced magnetic field, that will act opposite to induced magnetic field. There's a reason why BM is opposite to B naught here. So this happens with the diamagnetic substance. I shown in terms of solenoid. You can take help of even for a. So what is the net dipole momentum of a substance? The net dipole moment will be 0 initially. These are the items. Voice is breaking. Can you hear me clearly, all of you?
Sir.
Okay, then fine. Yeah. Now this is B naught. Okay, to show B naught no, first. Yeah. The induced magnetic field will be in this direction. In a substance, this is BM. If you remove B naught, again, there won't be any magnetic field. So if I remove B naught, no induced magnetic field, BM will be 0. When the BM will come, only due to external field. This is what happens with the diamagnetic substance. Okay, got this? So there's a one, they may test you with these small ideas. What happened to the net field? The net field will become less than B naught. And what is the value of BM? Will be very much less than B naught. So the resultant field, what we'll get? B net. That B net will be slightly agree this. So all small tiny information, you have to be careful. This is what happens in the diamagnetic substance. Okay, let's compare the other features. So what about the other things, like what are the examples of this one? Shall I say they are repelled by magnets? You look at the induced magnetic field, what it will try to do? It will try to repel it. So if you keep that diamagnetic substance in magnetic field, it will be repelled by they're repelled by a magnets. We can put it. Suppose say if there's a bar magnet, I'll bring a diamagnetic substance. So this will experience a repulsive force. This will experience so diamagnetic substance, they're repelled by a magnets, and the induced magnetic field will be very less magnetism will be induced that to opposite external field. So I think I'll write down all the statements rather than giving one by one word. They are repelled by a, they means here diamagnetic substance. They are repelled by a magnets. There's the one thing. Next again, they tend to move away from stronger to weaker parts of the field. They tend to move away from weaker parts of magnetic field. There's a one thing. Next, what is the value of mu r? Mu r will be very much less than, so mu r will be very less than 1, will be very small. And what about susceptibility will be negative and very small. Why negative? Because it will show direction. No? Bm is opposite to B naught, will be negative and will be very small. Mu r will be, and what is the formula? Mu r is equal to 1 plus chi. No? Chi will be very small and negative. So what do you expect mu r? Mu r will be positive and very small. That's why I just put it, or we'll write it mu r very small and positive. So these are the some basic features I'm telling. I'll compare other things later on. We'll enter into paramagnetism. Now, one very important thing. What all the diamagnetism which is there? Shall I say it is due to change in speed of revolving electrons? It is due to only orbital electrons. The diamagnetism is due to only orbital electrons. Who will contribute the diamagnetism? Only the orbital electrons. So the diamagnetism, I think we have space here. No, there. So I'll write it here. Diamagnetism is due to change in speed of orbital electrons. What about the spin of electrons? So nothing. The spin of electrons will not do anything here. In fact, what is the electron? Electrons will also have spin. What about the spin? As the spin are not contributing anything for this. Only the change in speed of orbital electrons are what contributing for that BM. So the diamagnetism is only due to orbital motion of electrons. There's a statement you have to remember. And they are repelled by magnets. They tend to move away from stronger to weaker parts of magnetic field. Mu are very small positive. The susceptibility is negative and very small. Okay, let's come for paramagnetism. All these are information, so you have to just remember nothing is there. The next one, paramagnetism. What is the paramagnetism? So if you take the paramagnetic substance, individual atom due to electron spin, and also due to the orbital motion of electrons. Individual atom will behave like a dipole, and some will have dipole moment, the net dipole moment of that given atom. What is the net dipole moment of that will be 0. So what is the induced magnetic field here? 0, and there is no external magnetic field. When a same substance, when I go and keep this in external magnetic field, so what will happen to the dipole moment of individual atoms? They'll get aligned. And what is that BM? BM will be like this. And the external magnetic field is, I'll show by dotted line. This will be the direction of external magnetic field. And there'll be a small magnetism will be induced. So who will contribute this BM? The orbital electrons as well as the electron spin. I'll give some small rough diagram. Even the spin also will contribute the magnetism here. Both things. So who is responsible for this BM? Both the spin of electron as well as also the angular velocity of the electron. So call this omega 1 and another is omega 2. Both these angular spins are responsible for, both these angular velocities are responsible for this BM. So the induced magnetic field, the first point I'll write, the induced magnetic field is due to orbital motion and spin of electrons. Everything that both are in diameter only due to orbital motion. Here both the spin as well as the speed will change. Because of that, what happen? A net dipole moment will come, and the magnet dipole moment of individual magnet, what happen? Individual atom slowly will get aligned and will get a net EMF will be, a net magnet will be induced, and that will be in the direction of B naught. And if I go and check it now, this BM will be BM in the direction of B naught, and the value of BM will be less than B naught. And because of that, what I can put, susceptibility will be positive and very small. And what about mu r? Will be positive and will be greater than 1. Mu r will be, because what is mu r? If chi is positive, what happen? It will be greater than 1. And they'll be attracted by the magnetic fields. They are attracted by bar magnets. So there's a overall, like you can say, particular thing. So now when I go for, as I increase the temperature, what will happen to paramagnetic substance? Any effect on the magnetization? So when we vary the temperature, so any relation, anything will happen to the intensity of magnetization. Anybody? We know some small idea, no? If you vary the temperature, anything will happen. Anything will happen to the atoms. I think little bit chemistry, that's why I'm asking. If you vary temperature, anything will happen to the substance. Okay, let's directly ask, let me happen to substance. You go back to conductors. So as you vary temperature, so what will happen to the atoms? They'll start vibrating, no? So due to that vibration, what will happen? The slowly the water that magnetism there, it start decreasing. It start decreasing here. So if I go for a graph, so the magnetization. So shall I say intensity of magnetization, and there's a temperature, or say susceptibility, better you call. This will be, the curve will be like this. What is this susceptibility? What is this susceptibility again? Decreases. Okay, fine, that one. Susceptibility, again go back. Susceptibility, what we define, it's a measure of, it's the ability of substance, it's a measure of the nature of magnetization. So what happened that the overall magnetism start decreasing, means as you increase the temperature, the Bm will decrease. Why Bm will decrease? Because the atom starts vibrating. Due to that vibration, the spin as well as particular orientation of that, means now they'll get oriented. Because of that, the arrow will make them slightly like this. So what happened to net dipole moment? Will decreases. Net dipole moment will decrease. Intensity of magnetization decreases. If intensity of magnetization decreases, I think we have defined one quantity. H is something which is external, no? Inside the solenoid, it depends on solenoid. So definitely what happens, as the net dipole moment decreases, as the net dipole moment decreases, I will decrease. Phi decreases, chi will decrease. So therefore, I'm putting this one here. So this is some sort of like a rectangular hyperbola where the relationship is given by this one. This C is called as Curie temperature. Very important. You get plenty of numericals based on this data. Now, what is the overall idea? As temperature increases, let me put in a systematic order. Temperature increases, then the net dipole moment decreases, intensity of magnetization decreases, susceptibility decreases. Any reason for that? Susceptibility equal to I into H. And what is the intensity of magnetization? Total dipole moment per unit volume. V is not voltage, volume, total volume of a substance. I think all are interrelated. And what is this M? M depends on what? Number of atoms into dipole moment of each atom. What is M? M, what you can write? Number of atoms or dipoles into dipole moment of each atom. I think in numericals, you are supposed to think in this way. You can ask questions, why you are not writing, and it's a constant. Curie temperature. So what is the value of C? For different materials, the value of C will be different. This is one more big headache what we are having. C is not some sort of like a constant, like a speed of light, that one. For different materials, it will be different. That's what he's saying. For different materials, the value will be different here. Again, the Curie, what happened? Curie constant, okay? Curie temperature, it's called a constant. For a given material, it will be constant, and for different materials, it will be different here. So that's why what happened in books, what happened, nobody will go for the value of C, because it's a very difficult quantity to measure. We don't have much data. I think if you refer some very good research materials, you'll get that one. But ordinary books, what happened? Nobody is able to publish the value of C even for any substance also. Very rare we have seen. I have collected few. I'll just show that for different materials, what is the value of C. For different materials, the value of Curie temperature will be different. It is not a speed of light. Curie temperature. So now what will happen to this paramagnetism? As you increase temperature, slowly it will decrease its magnetism. The induced magnetic field will decrease here. That's what he mean to say. Okay, now we'll go for the last one, the ferromagnetism. This totally now ferromagnetism. So only after quantum mechanics came little bit idea, they were able to explain. Prior to that, no exact idea. Or ferromagnetic material. Now, if you take the iron, is it a magnet? Iron is not a magnet. No? You take that natural iron rod. Is it a magnet? Nothing. Can I make it a magnet? Yes. How it is possible? What we do? How do we make a magnet? There are artificial magnets, are there? No. What is our main purpose? Our main topic is what? I have to produce a very powerful magnet, small size, but it should have very good magnetic field. That was our main target here. Then I checked it, several materials, nobody is satisfied. Then I'll come for the metals. What are the metals like iron, copper, steel, copper, nickel, cobalt. Then what happened? I can what happened? Make a powerful magnet using these materials. So how it is possible? Okay, let's do one thing. Let's go back to some 1,000 years back or 500 years back. I think 500 years back there was no electricity. Am I right? Then how they were able to produce magnet? Are naturally available. No, they were able to produce even what? Powerful artificial magnets. How they were able to produce? Just very simple. Take iron block. You start hammering it. So hammering means take hammer. This one. Start hammering it. There's iron block. You keep on strike it. So as you keep on strike it, what happen? The overall the domains. So what happen? The atomic structure will. I should not say atomic structure will get disturbed. Inside the iron open, the domains will get realigned. And slowly what happen? The realignment of domains will make this iron very powerful magnet. How much you hammer it, that much of powerful it become. So for how many times I should hammer? You should hammer for 10 to 15 years. Look at the previous swords, no? I think prior to this, just go back some, you can say 500 years back. The battles are won by what? How powerful equipments are there? Sword, spade. I think all of you know sword. I think I need not to tell this. This is sword. Then spade. This is called like a spade, no? So on this will be sharp. Then we have other things. So these are the very popular things which were used here. Spear is not used in a battles. No, these are widely used here. Then other things are there. Spear, other things. But these are the things. Sword is what, and the spade. These are the things which are widely used here. And now, like how do they make a powerful sword? And if compare the iron and magnet, which will be stronger? The magnet will be stronger. So all the weapons, if they are made up of very powerful magnet, then the battle you can win easily. So how to bring the magnet? Just take iron and hammer it. That's why in the country, in a given kingdom, what happened? They used to make a weapons. In that weapons, what happened? They used to hammer things. When you hammer this iron for 10 to 15 years, what will happen? It will get magnetized. After getting magnetized, what happen? Again, it can be made into different, and by sharpening this, it will become. Now you take the ordinary sword made up of iron and the sword made up of magnet. The sword made up of magnet, what happen? Will be more stronger. So like this, what happened? All the weapons they used to make. Okay, now technology got advanced. We are coming for bombs, everything. So now earlier, who used to hammer their weapons for longer time? No, they used to have a powerful weapons. That was the method of winning the battles here. So now what will happen? Okay, now I think if you stand with a sword, no, you shoot with a gun over. So that's what happened. Why India, after 15th century, why India was losing battles? The main reason is this one. The Western people, they came with guns, cannons, and we had a sword in their hand. Okay, good sword. But can we fight with cannons? One cannon weapon, one bomb weapon used to kill 100 members easily. So that was the reason why the European countries came and dominated us, because they had a very good weapons, advanced weapons than us. If you look at the Vijayanagara, Vizag, I think in 1870s or so like 19th century, war happened. Within 15 minutes, war got over. The Vijayanagaram king, what happened, has to surrender. Only 15 minutes. The Britishers came, they were with gun. The Vijayanagaram kings, what happened? The soldiers were only with swords. Hmm? Almost around some around 8,000 people died within 15 minutes the war got over. It's all about weapons, sir. Nothing is there. Who are having more weapons, as they will win the battle. That's what happened after 15th century. What happened? You can say the West. What happened? They went for the science. They took help of science. They brought very good weapons. But India, what happened? We went to even stick to traditional things. There is a main cause why Britishers were able to dominate on us. The Europeans, they were able to dominate on us. They said they were intelligent. They came by business. No, they had a good weapons. Finish war. There's no other alternative. Cannons. How do you can fight with cannons? Only in India, what happened? The Tipu Sultan, he brought that technology from where he was had a friendship with the France, and through France, what happened? He acquired technology. Then he was able to put some resistance to the Britishers. Pretty sure that's the main cause. Huh? So now also, I think now also the same situation. If you don't have weapons, we are going to lose battle. Good weapons from where will come? Good engineers. Good engineers where will come? When you solve numericals, solve good numericals, bring thinking ability. See, it all interrelated. Huh? Your education is future of this nation. That much I can say. If you think, will be safe. If you don't think, then again some other country may come and capture us. So it's your natural responsibility that you should develop a thinking ability. Otherwise, gone. What is the ferromagnetism? If you take the ordinary iron rod or something, inside that, what happen? A group of atoms they come together. A group of atoms they come together and they will form a domain. This is what happens. To explain magnetism, what happened? The best way of the domain theory is what it is being proposed here. So I'll just give very simplified diagrams. A group of atoms. So what happened? This is one domain. Four domains are there: domain one, domain two, domain three, domain four. The dipole moment. All the atoms in this domain, they will have their dipole moment in one specific direction. Then the domain three. Here the atoms of all this will align itself in such a way that the net dipole moment of this will be towards left. What is this arrow indicates? Dipole moment, net m bar of this. If it is like this is this direction. What is the net dipole moment? M net, you can put it. M net equal to M1 bar, M2 bar, M4 bar, and it is equal to 0. So here nearby you write it like this. So a good example, there's a ferromagnetic substance. So there's no external field. Now when I bring an external field, one of the domain means the domain whose magnetic moment is in the direction of external field, it will get support. And what it will do, it will force the others. How many other? 1, 2, 3. Let me make like this. So this domain will dominate. We need one more, no? Yeah. So what this domain one? So what is the direction of external field? The external field is like this, B naught. Then external field is when I immerse this substance in external field, the domain whose magnitude in the direction of external field, what happen? It will what happen? Its domain will increase. Means it will pull out some atoms from other domain and it will make the dipole to be in the direction of B naught. And the net dipole moment of this will increase and it will force the other domains to align their dipole moment in the direction of external field. And further, if I increase, no, it will come to Okay, the range of that will increase, and finally what happen? We'll get a condition. The final. The domains will not will be there. We'll get all in all the regions what happen? The M1 bar. I'll write dash because they have changed it, no? This is what happens here. This is called a domain. So what is a domain now? So this is called a domain. It's a region made up of group of atoms. Some around 10 to the power of 22 atoms, they come together and they'll form a domain here. Roughly that one. 10 to the power of 20 atoms. So each domain contains 10 to the power of 20 items. Some books they say in 18, 22 of approximately. Each domain contains these many atoms. And each atom will have dipole moment. What is the dipole moment? Both the orbital as well as spin. Put it everything. So that particular initial open, why there is no magnetic field in a ferromagnetic substance? Because the net dipole momentum of each domain, the algebraic sum of that will cancel out. When I keep this ferromagnetic substance in an external magnetic field, then one of the domain whose dipole moment in the direction of external field will align itself, dipole moment, and it will force the other domains to align their dipole moment in the direction of external field. And also its dominance will increase. It will pull out some atoms from other domains and it will make them to align their dipole moment in the direction of external field. Like that, its area also increases. So like this happen as I keep on increase external field. Don't say B naught. B naught also I should keep on increase. B naught. Okay, we'll do one thing. I'll B naught dash double dash this will be B naught will take it. So what I'm going to keep on increase the magnetic field B naught double dash B naught dash. So as I keep on increase the magnetic field, so what this domain one, it will force the other domains to align their dipole moment in the direction of magnetic field, and also its dominance will increase, its area, its size also will increases. And at one instant what happen? All the domains will increase, will have the dipole moment in the direction of magnetic field, and no more further magnetization occurs. You increase further B. I have to explain this also, this condition. Further, finally, what will happen? When all the domains, as I further increase, no more changes. It gets saturated, finish over. So you put B where B will be greater than B naught. No more further any magnetism will be induced, fresh magnetism. It gets saturated. Say that I am tired, okay, finished. No more than this, I cannot get magnetized. Okay, this what happens in ferromagnetism. So what is the direction of induced magnetic field? I think I have to show that BM here. This BM will be several times greater than B naught. This is a thing which we needed. Several times. Several times means 1 lakh times of B naught. You can put even 1 lakh. The induced magnetic field will be very much greater than the external magnetic field. This is what happens in the ferromagnetic substance. So what is this ferromagnetism? Shall I say not something electron spin orbital? It's about the domains. I should not talk about something electron spin orbital. Just call domains. So what all this induced magnetic field is there due to alignment of domains. So induced magnetic field, this BM, due to what? BM is due to alignments of domains here. Due to alignment of domains, that one. They're the main reason. So like this now, what are the properties now? So let's compare the properties. Okay, first I'll come this one. This tabular column, everything I'll put it. It's a material in which there is no permanent magnetic moment. There won't be permanent. It has permanent magnetic moment. Permanent magnet from where it will come? Net orbital dipole moment will be zero. And what about paramagnetic substance? It will have some so magnetic moment as permanent magnetic moment where in the atoms, paramagnetic substance in atoms it will come. Now it has enormous permanent magnetic moment. Why do this? Due to domains here. Means now your task question, sir, you said earlier it was no magnetic field. We do have some natural magnets, no? Ferric oxide or like a Fe2O3 magnine, it's called as a natural available magnet. From where do it got magnetism? Inside that the domains will get realigned. So naturally also the ferromagnetic substance will have magnetism on its own due to some alignment of domains here. And even iron not pen, I can magnetize it, or iron not pen will not have any magnetism. But naturally available also magnets are available, no? What is that natural available magnets here? From where they got that magnetism? Due to domains here. So is it okay? And paramagnetic substance also. They have some permanent magnetism, that too very small. And next again, a spin or magnetic moment or dipole alignment. No spin alignment. It will have random alignment, parallel and orderly alignment inside the material. This is a thing. Next year, behavior. What will happen to this diamond substance? They will repel magnetic lines from the center of the material. They'll attract heavy attraction of lines of force towards the center. So what is the meaning of this? So I think I have a diagram here. No, I'll draw it here only nearby. Once again, I'll put it, there is no permanent magnetic moment. So there's a, here only let me draw that. Due to orbital motion. So what about here? This will be due to spin as well as orbital motion, and it will be random. And this is about the domains. No, repulsion of magnetic lines. So if you keep the bar magnet, if you keep the diamagnetic substance in a magnetic field, the magnetic field won't happen because it will be repelled, no, the lines of force. This is what happens to the magnetic field. Now when you bring the same paramagnetic substance, they will start passing through it. And when it comes the ferromagnetic substance, more lines of force will pass outside, will pass inside than outside. Suppose there's a magnetic field. So what this ferromagnetic substance will do, it will pull the lines of force more into the substance. So this is the ferro. Getting this one? So if you check the magnetism here the field inside will be more, no? Because we know BM will be very much greater. So the net field is more, means more lines of force should be there in this region than this region. You compare the spacing between lines of force, here less, no? So there's a meaning of that one. So shall I say heavy attraction of lines of force toward the center? So I'm giving suitable. And what will happen to this? Repulsion of lines of force from the center of the material. They'll be repelled back. In fact, these are the lines of force. If I continue. So what's happening to lines of force? They are being repelled, no, here, the material. Next, magnetized direction, opposite. I think already we did. Same as the action moment field, same direction as the action moment field. Permeability, it is very less, it is high, it is very high. And what about mu r? Greater than, very much greater. This will be susceptibility, negative, low positive, very high positive. And now, when you increase temperature, diamond substance, what will happen? When you increase temperature, it becomes a normal conductor. I'll explain later on this. I need time. When the temperature is less than the Curie temperature, it is converted into diamagnetic substance. So here, the curve, once again, I'll put it. The superconductor, I'll explain tomorrow because a lot of time needed for that. So if you look at the curve, it will be like this. This is for paramagnetic. When the temperature is less than Curie temperature, it is converted into diamagnetic substance. Not all, few are there. So let it be just put in graph like this. Now if I plot the paramagnetic, ferromagnetic, the curve will be this is called as Curie temperature. This is the ferro, it will become para. The ferromagnetic substance, as you increase temperature at one point called as Curie temperature, it will become paramagnetic substance. So you mean to say iron is magnetic properties? Again, don't think iron will become some other element. In terms of magnetic properties, we are telling this Curie temperature. So this is defined as T minus Tc, where this Tc is the Curie temperature. This one, T is what temperature, C is a Curie constant. Again, for different materials, the value will be different. Here, the expression is this much here. This is called like a Curie-West law. This is called like a Curie law. This is called like a Curie-West law. So for temperature T less than Tc, the substance will be ferromagnetic, will be as a ferromagnetic. Once the temperature of substance will become greater than Curie temperature, it will become a paramagnetic substance. What is saying. Now, why do it happen? As you increase temperature, what will happen to the domains? The domain starts vibrating. Because of the vibration of domains, the dipole momentum of individual domain will get realigned, and also the dipole moment will decrease. Why the domains will get realigned? Because what is the domain made up of atoms? And as you increase temperature, the random motion of the atoms will increase about their mean position, and that will disturb the dipole moment of individual atom or that of the domain. So like that, what happen? The dipole moment of domain start decreasing. Dipole moment of domain start decreasing. The net dipole moment of substance will decrease, and because of that, what happen? We'll get the net dipole moment will decrease, and the induced band field will decrease here, and it will become a paramagnetic substance. There's a reason what we can give. Next few parameters. What about for diamagnetic substance? And it will not change. No? Even you vary temperature, nothing will happen. Next come for, if a diamagnetic liquid taken in a watch glass is paired in uniform band field, and this is a north and south pole. This is a bar magneto. These are the experimental ways of determining liquid. What is that nature of liquid? No, so they're the simplest things what earlier we were using. Now technology got improved. We can just within some instruments other place it will come to know. But earlier, what when these are the methods we were using. When prior to almost 1950s, these were the standard methods. After 1950, what happened? The instruments came. We stopped using this practical method of testing that one. Okay, what it says, it in a watch glass. I think all of you know watch glass, some sort of like a cup. So how the cup saucer will be there, no? Like that, it's a made up of transparent glass. In that, I'll fill up a diamantic liquid. The diamantic, what are the diamantic liquids like bismuth, silicon, copper? All these are examples. I can go for diamantic liquids also are there. I'll give some diamagnetic liquids, no? Water is a good example. Even water will come diamagnetic. Water, nitrogen, liquid nitrogen or the water. I'll fill up here. So that particular liquid is taken. Let it be like this. Now, as I separate it, as I increase the distance spacing between the bar magnets, what will happen to the liquid? What will happen? It will budge like this here. The reason for that, what is the property of diamagnetic substance? It will move a region from weak magnetic fields to strong magnetic fields. No, they tend to move slowly from stronger to weaker parts. So as you increase the distance separation between magnets, no, the field strength here will become less. Earlier it was more. The field strength will decrease. So the more liquid will get placed at the weaker part. So if you give the name like this, there's a one. B2 will be less than B1. There's a simplest reason. So what is the property? They tend to move slowly from a stronger to weaker parts of a field. B2 will be less than B3. So therefore, what happen? Since B2 is less than B3, I think what I wrote, B2 less than B3. Yeah. So more liquid will acquire at this particular point. Let's not bother to give exactly how it moves all, because again we have to go to the molecular level. We have to explain just information based. You can. What about the para and this one? They will, what will happen? They will move from region of weaker to stronger parts. Let's give the name. So here I think the field 2, 3, there's a 1. B2, okay, enough. So there's a property of that particular substance. Within some 5-10 minutes, they were able to notice this and they were able to categorize the substance. So what are the diamagnetic substance? Bismuth, silicon, copper, water, nitrogen. All these are examples of diamagnetic substance. What about the paramagnetic substance? Paramagnetic substance are aluminum, oxygen, calcium, oxygen, this sodium. So all these are examples of paramagnetic substance here. Okay, fine. So this is next again the ferromagnetic substance. I think you know this will be iron, nickel, cobalt. Okay, these are the very famous what we are using. This one. So the property of paramagnetic and the ferro almost same. You look at all the things. Okay, let's come for this earlier said atoms have no magnetic moments. Atoms have randomly oriented magnetic moments. Atoms are organized in domains which are parallel aligned magnetic moments. Are you getting no? Each domain is like the domain idea will come. We should not go for individual atoms here. Ferromagnetic substance. Paramagnetic substance, as the individual atom will be like a tiny magnet and they'll be randomly arranged. That's why there's no magnetic field. When you introduce some in a magnetic field, external magnetic field, then a magnetism will be induced here and it will be very small. And what are here is like a domain. So like this is what these curves are there. Why this negative sign? Because the induced magnetic field will be opposite, no? So therefore that negative sign they're putting here. And as you increase temperature, magnetization will not change. 1 by chi versus t, that one. I think it will be a straight line. And this is for ferromagnetic substance. Is it okay? Chi versus, I think the graph was like this, no? 1 by chi versus t. It should be a straight line passing through origin, that one. And for ferromagnetic substance, the curve will be like this. And you look at this, this is something very important. As you increase the external magnetic field, what will happen to magnetization? It increases. Afterwards, it becomes saturated. A saturation will come. No more further magnetization occurs here. This is some graphical information or select a tabular column. This will be much easier for you to remember. Everything what all we discussed theoretical, no? I summarized in the form of here in the tabular column. Just go through once here. Tomorrow we'll continue from here. Okay, thank you all of you. Okay, thank you all of you. Take care. Bye. See you.